guys, how are we all doing? I hope we are well. I'm very well, thank you for asking. Now, it's been a little while since I've done one of these. I just kind of ran out a bit of momentum, if I'm brutally honest. They were getting a little bit too samey for me, so I thought I'd give it a break. But I wanted to get back into it, not least of all because it's coming up to that time of year again. We've had Halloween. In this country, we've had Guy Fawkes Night. I'm pretty sure Thanksgiving is pretty much coming up for you, or past by the time, depending on when you watch this. So, yeah, it's that time again. And I thought, well, let's just jump on the bandwagon and give my opinion on some things that maybe people might like to buy others or would like to have bought for them. I'll list up above where, some of my other book club suggestions. There's a book on techniques, there's a couple of historical books on there, some sort of more fashion through the ages source material books. I'll give you a little bit of detail about them, and I'll give you my personal opinion on whether I feel that they're good for beginners, all-rounders, intermediates, or advanced. Because whilst it's really nice to buy somebody a book if they're only just starting, getting them the Keystone Cutter's Guide to Clothing is probably a little bit ambitious, and whilst well-meaning, it might put them off a little bit. So have a look at what I've suggested, and hopefully you might find some inspiration. Now, today's going to be a little bit more of an alternative suggestion. Say you don't know the person well enough, what books they might have, or you don't want to give them a gift card to the local gift shop, fabric shop, which is fine. It's, if you want to give them an actual gift. What else do you do? Now, if you're a bit like me, I buy a lot of fabric with no particular project in mind. You just know you're going to use it. And when that happens, you don't buy thread to go with it. Why would you? You just end up with more thread to store than you could possibly imagine. And it becomes too unwieldy. But when you come to finding that fabric that you've got in your stash and you have a look at your cotton supply and you go, well, I've got nothing here. You could traipse around the local shops with a little fabric swatch trying to match it up. You could run the risk and look online and hope that the screen on your computer is a good quality enough to get you a reasonably accurate picture of the fabric, of the thread that you're looking at. Or, now hear me out here, thread shade cards. Now, and this is going to be a very unusual present, and I would suggest to think a little bit before giving anybody this present. This is really useful, this is really good, but it's also quite an unusual present. And you might get that look of, oh, great, thank you. And you're not too sure whether you've done the right thing or not. But let's go through this a bit together. This is the Gutermann polyester thread, so this is the all sew stuff. And I bought this last year. There's two different versions. This one, as you can see here, in of itself is actually a lovely little book. It's really quite pretty just to look at, but I probably can't see it. But each of these are actually bound thread onto these cardboard pieces. There is a different version with printed, so it's a much flatter version. So if you find that your friend or you might like it, but you're concerned it might be a bit too expensive, there is a cheaper alternative which is just as good, but I'm just a bit of a sucker for tactile and it just feels lovely. And what this has is, I feel like a teacher here. You see? Don't fall off the chair. All the colours that they do in the Sew All range, but not just the Sew All range. They have a couple of different ranges in here as well. So you could get this, and this kind of covers quite a lot here. So what does it cover? It covers top stitch, which can be really useful because it's not something you think you're going to buy all the time, so you can get a nice contrasting or matching top stitch. Extra strong, sew all in a couple of different actually 3, 4, yeah, and basically the sew all threads in 50 metres, 100 metres, 200 metres, 500 metres and 1,000 metres. And there's an extra fine and a minking as well, which I'm not sure what that is. And they tell you here on this key, I won't go, you might be able to see it, don't worry if you can't. And it tells you, you know, if you see this mark against this colour, you can purchase this online wherever you happen to find it, which means that you can buy the thread that you need at the time you need it, rather than either storing it. I mean, if you've got the space, fine, but if you don't, like me, this is actually really useful. It's a bit, yes I know it's a paint card shade, all right, I did say this was slightly unusual. And you just open it up and you just run the fabric that you've got against all the colours, and when you find the shade that you want, mark the number down, look online, and you buy what you need. And this was at one point, as you can imagine, during the middle times, these were like gold dust. You couldn't get them for love nor money. I think that's hopefully calmed down now, but you might need to do a bit of research. But if you or your friend would find this really useful, Gutermann's do one, I think Coats do one, a number of brands will do them, and they're just so useful to have, because like I said, you can be far more creative with your thread than just, I don't know, sometimes feel a bit pressured in the shop. You know, your shop may only have the core range, or the colour that you want is out of stock and you don't know when it's going to come back in. This will help you immensely, or your friend, who knows, or maybe both of you. I will try and find some links of where these are sold if I can, but you may need to do a little bit of research yourself to find out where it is. But like I said, the Gutermann's M92/2 main shade card consumer goods really is worth considering. Now, whilst we're on the shade card theme, this is a bit more unusual. I'll need to check if they ship internationally, and this particular shade card only comes about once every so often because this is handmade. But this is from Vere Yarns, so you know the ones that do the really lovely advent calendars. They do a shade card for all their silks, and as I say, they're handmade, so these don't come about often. But in the same vein as the Gutermann's, you've got, if you or your friends are into silk embroidery, you really can't go much wrong with this. To be honest, if you wanted to make a proper gift of it, you could frame it. Just a suggestion, you don't have to use it. This is pretty enough as it is. You could frame it and have it in the sewing room. You heard it here first, folks. But it's effectively the same as this. It's got all the numbers, all the names, and you can really feel it. It feels lovely, like a cat's tummy. But it also allows you to then really match to what you're looking for. So again, contrast. You want to clash. You want to do statement. This is really useful to help you get the shade right that you need. Obviously, there will be, with anything, slight variation, especially if it's hand dyed. But that being said, the Vere's silk shade card, again, I'm pretty sure that other silk companies will have very, very similar. This is just the one that I've gone for. They also do a worsted wool. Again, it doesn't look like much of an actual present if you can put it into a nice box, but these are actually really useful for people who do lots of this sort of sewing. It really helps them to pick the colour that they really want rather than looking online, because if you ever look online, it always says, disclaimer, we've taken the best photos that we possibly can. Please make sure the resolution on your computer is good. We can't accept, responsibility for shade differences. Not with these. You don't have to have that risk anymore. You can get as close as possible. Again, varying in dye batches, but this is really useful, and with this you get a really useful test card. Now again, I'm pretty sure other companies will do this as well, but I would suggest if you're going to get this, you make sure you get this as well. This is the yarn card, so actually you get to feel the difference between all the different thicknesses. So you've got the 6 denier, 12 denier, 18 denier. It's really useful. Like I said, a bit of an unusual one, but they're really practical and really quite nice to look at. But hopefully that's given you a bit of an idea of what else you might be able to buy the sewest in your life, or what you as the sewest in your own life, what you might want. Hope you found that interesting. A little bit of a short video, but no need to go on too much, I don't think. So with that, you've been watching Crazy Cat Lady Productions. This has been an unoriginal idea. Until next time, guys, take care. Bye bye.